Well, we're back this week without Davey, of course, because Davey's out living life, and that's honestly that's why we didn't record last week. It was because Davey didn't remind us to record. So you can blame it all on Davey, not our autoimmune systems. Um, Matt and I were struggling last week, if that wasn't obvious. So apologies for no episode last week on the Fake Racers
The
podcast.
glue that holds the show together.
And apparently our bodies.
Yeah, that too.
Like we both got sick.
Yeah.
But you're feeling better, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling better. I can actually do stuff and not just be a bump on a log. So
yeah.
For the first time I took a day off of work. I didn't even take a day off. I just worked from home because I was sick.
Yeah.
I did that for the first time last week. Let me tell you, that was an enlightening experience.
God, I'm trying to think of the last time I called in sick from my job. It's been a while. I don't know. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. But
speaking of it is what it is, seems like that was the vibe after Bristol though.
Wait, we didn't do our intros. This is a Fake Racers podcast. See, Davey's not here.
Yeah, I'm jumping ahead.
That's Matt. I'm Joe. Thanks for watching. Make sure you click the like button, subscribe, follow, blah, 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 blah. Do all that stuff. We appreciate you. Ziggy appreciate you.
Right, Ziggy?
Bristol's over here appreciating the fact that he's clean now. So
yeah.
Not dirty.
One day my cat will acknowledge me.
But,
right,
Matt,
buddy? Oh, okay.
As you were saying, the attitude after Bristol was...
that's a good question, because I'll be honest, I didn't actually watch the race. But a seeming lack of reaction was what I was going to say.
You didn't miss much. I fell asleep during the race, guys. Okay, again, terrible podcast host already. One of us didn't watch the race. The other one watched part of it, but here's the endorsement for how good the race was. I fell asleep.
Yeah.
So
I was out golfing, and we had a tee time at noon, and we only played 9 holes. And I was like, all right, I'll be done. We'll be done by the time, or the race will still be going by the time we're done. And we got back, and it was over because this was the fastest short track race in NASCAR Cup Series history. Because nothing happened.
Literally.
And then I was scrolling social media, looking for highlights. And if you went on the NASCAR on Fox Twitter page,
I don't think there were highlights.
The highlights were Kyle Larson wins stage 1. Kyle Larson wins stage 2. Look, Chase Elliott bumped into Brad Keselowski. Kyle Larson wins. And that was it. I was like, damn, they are starved for content right now.
Yeah. Man, this car sucks on the short tracks.
So yeah, sometimes it really I mean, Bristol's been pretty good, I feel in the next gen.
Even the fall race I thought was decent. The couple of the 2 fall races. And then obviously last year we had the tire thing, which it looked like on Saturday we were going to have something similar. But I have the note here, blue balls for a tire wear race.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that when I was scrubbing through the highlights, and there's a lot of Harvick kind of hinting at all right, we're going to see some differences in the age of the tires and who's going to pit here and who's going to play strategy. And by the end of the race, they just completely stopped mentioning it because it just didn't matter.
Because the thing was, at the start of the race, everyone was just kind of pacing around. And then Larson was the first to be like, all right, I'm done. We're good. Let's go. And then after that, he just didn't look back. And, did he have the fastest car? I mean, he won the race. He won the stages. Okay, yeah, he probably. But did he? I don't know. I think the one fun thing to watch was, they slobber all over Kyle Larson anytime he does good. So it's I get sick of it, especially Clint Boyer, because he just loves his dirt track drivers. And but Larson is so efficient driving through traffic, and I think that was the one good thing to watch and see. And if you watch the race Sunday and you watch the race Saturday, you couldn't really tell the difference because the HendrickCars.com Chevy won both races and dominated both races.
Yeah,
but it's Larson just kind of put on a clinic over the weekend. I think how many laps did he lead on Sunday?
411 of 500. So,
and then he led 277 to 300 on Saturday.
Yeah.
Like,
I should do the math on like what percentage of laps led that is. But
too many.
It's over 80%.
Too many, really. I mean, that's all you got to say. He just led too many laps.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? Like, tire wear would help make it a little bit more competitive. We've seen Kyle Larson struggle with tire wear. I think if there's one thing that he could work on, it's management of his equipment and his tires. And I think Cliff Daniels does a really good job of reining him in. But, is he at the level like a Denny Hamlin would be, right? We saw Denny Hamlin take these guys to school last year in this race. So,
yeah.
It's stuff like that.
What I think is interesting about what you were just saying is like part of the reason why I think he's so good at navigating traffic and also why he's bad at conserving his tires are the same thing, which is that he's very aggressive and he's very assertive. And that's why you see him, when he, like the thing that Davey and I talked about, I think it was after Homestead last year, on the unfortunately lost episode of the show, where we were talking about like Kyle Larson is just going to go for shit and kind of doesn't care what happens, because most of the time, like, if you're in a position like he is, points don't matter 90% of the time anyway. But yeah, and it's going to work out more often than it's not. It's just when it doesn't, it's going to look really dumb.
And it does a lot of the time.
In a case, a shocking amount. But I mean, I think that's why he's so good at getting through lap traffic too, is he's not afraid to just be aggressive, and he's not going to wait for the openings to happen. He's just going to do it,
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
That was also kind of like, again, my notes on Saturday was Kyle Larson dominates and everyone else is kind of racing. I mean, he lapped up to like 11th or 10th, like something stupid in that race.
Yeah, Connor Zilic was the last car in the lead lap in 12th.
Yeah. So.
Couple things I did. So did you see? I can't remember who the interview was with him, where he made the like jokey comment about like wanting to embarrass the Xfinity Series.
Yeah,
field.
So that was on Harvick's podcast.
That's what it was. Yeah. It just reminded me, and this is like, I promise this is not me fanboying Kyle Larson, but I just wanted to like mention this. So it annoys the shit out of me, and this is not just a Kyle Larson thing, but you see it all the time, where, this is the second time in, 3 weeks, I think, that he's tried to go for the weekend sweep and got 2 out of 3. And you see people saying stuff like, oh, Kyle Busch did it, everybody booed him, and it was like, okay, one, Kyle Larson's more popular. I'm not gonna dive into why.
Well, I mean, he doesn't drive a Toyota. That's one thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a multitude of reasons.
There's a multitude, but that was another reason people really did not like Kyle Busch.
Yeah, but the other thing was Kyle Busch was running like 24 Xfinity Series races a year. Like, I don't see nearly that level of hostility towards Kyle Busch, even at the end of JGR days when he was dropping down to race Xfinity races. The problem wasn't Kyle Busch is dominating; it was Cup drivers are dominating every single week. And you're getting things like Ricky Stenhouse is one of the only guys who wins a race in the season or a series,
Yeah, but okay. To play devil's advocate a little bit, I feel like the product in the Xfinity Series could be a little bit better if we had more Cup guys down there. Oddly enough,
I do agree. Yeah, I do agree. Especially stuff like Martinsville. Like
not to say that
we talked about.
Yeah, not to say that the product's bad in the Xfinity Series, because it's very obviously not. But I think it would help the guys that are truly going to be the stars of the sport moving forward. And I think it also helps kind of curb this influx we've seen of this pay to drive talent at some of these bigger teams even. Is there a problem with the Alpha Primes and the DGMs of the world having those types of guys? No, I don't think so. But when, Gibbs is pretty much all their cars are pay to drive. When JRM is, you have one, if not two, that are pay to drive. And that's, again, it goes back to the conversation of what do you want, what do you like. Even those guys that are, again, quote, pay to drive, Silver Spoon, they still have a little bit of talent, right? It doesn't mean that they're awful, and that's not at all an indictment or what I'm trying to say about these guys, but I think if people really did have a problem with that, they would. And then the solution was Cup guys go down there to run more races, and could say the same thing about the Truck Series. I don't know if they'd be willing to take that as the solution. So I think it would be the solution. Quite honestly.
Well, the interesting thing too that I've seen is like, you know, things like the former like all-star cars that you'd see. I mean, you have the Hendrick 17 now. And like the JGR 19, they'll put a couple guys in there, a couple races a year. But like the Penske 22 is gone.
Yeah.
They just straight up don't have an Xfinity program ever since Cindric moved up, which is weird. And I do think that is a big loss. So, yeah, I don't know. I think there is definitely a balance to be struck, though. Because I think you can make the argument that it's too restrictive, but at the same time, like guys like Kyle Busch aren't running it at all anymore.
Yeah. Well, and the
when's the last time Joey Logano ran the Xfinity Series?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, actually, last year in the 15 car, but you know it's okay.
Oh, that doesn't count.
But that's what people always say they want. They're like, "Oh, I want Cup guys. If they're gonna go down there, they should run for like backmarker teams and blah 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 blah." And it's like, okay, like Ross does that or was doing that.
Yeah.
You know, and Tyler Reddick was in the Sam Hunt car and also in the Jordan Anderson car a couple times when he was still at RCR. Like, and that's all well and good, but if those guys are in truly competitive equipment, or truly top tier equipment, competitive is probably not the right word, it might help curb some of the anarchy we've seen in the lower series. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But it also, there is something about the best drivers racing more often that would be good for the sport, especially with limited practice time.
Okay.
I don't know. Plus, NASCAR's trying to get $10 million for naming rights for the Xfinity Series after this year, so, you know.
Yeah, it helps when you have your big names in the series.
It helps when, you know, Kyle Larson can run 10 races, Chase Elliott can also run 10 races. Like, I think they're limited to 5 or 7.
I think it was 5, yeah.
I think it was originally 7 and then 5. I don't know. It's just they continue to restrict the rules, right?
It almost makes sense to bump it up to like, so because you have a 4-car limit in the Cup Series, right?
3.
You bump it up to like, oh yeah, okay. But you bump it up to like 8. You can run each of your Cup guys that many races. That fills out 2/3 of the schedule. You know.
Yeah.
And then you can find somebody else to put in the last part of it. I can't believe we're back full circle. Like, for years it was like, ban the Cup guys from the Xfinity Series entirely, and now we're back to like, nah, maybe we should let them in a little more.
Well, I don't think it's I never thought it was this terrible thing. I mean, it's how you get guys like Ricky Stenhouse winning the championship 2 years in a row.
That was the problem. Yeah, that was the problem, is like, Cup guys completely flooded out basically an entire generation of development drivers, and then we had that weird, like, 5-year span after it, where, like you mentioned, the guys coming up were like Ricky Stenhouse and Trevor Bayne and Stephen
Chase
Wallace.
Elliott and Chris Buescher, and like the thing is, there was.
It took a few years for those guys to get into the mix, though. You know.
But that's okay, because then they're more mature drivers once they get into the mix.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that, like, I'm not disagreeing with you on this. I'm just saying, like, that was a knock-on effect of the fact that Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano and Carl Edwards and Matt Kenseth were basically hogging up all of the best rides. And so when you got something like, oh, hey, Stephen Light won a Busch Series race, and everybody's like, that's weird. And it's like, he's a development driver for a top team. He should be winning races, you know?
Right.
So it's one of those things where it almost seems like they've kind of overcorrected too far.
Well, they always do, right?
Yeah. NASCAR either overcorrects or they barely do anything at all.
Yeah.
There's no in between.
There is no in between. Truck race on Friday was a fun race. Chandler Smith won. Not gonna say anything. I made a joke about making a joke. I'm not gonna make a joke. You can go
surely
read
the
things
most
out there.
notable thing.
Yes, surely the most notable thing about Chandler Smith this past weekend. You can go read stuff, but this was the race that, of course, Larson didn't win this weekend. So
he wasn't much of a factor in this one, too, was he?
I mean, he was up there, but yeah, it wasn't like he was like leading a bunch of laps or anything. So
yeah, he didn't even lead a lap the whole night.
Yeah. Which was funny
Chandler
when people were like, "Oh, Larson got stopped from winning the Truck Series race." It's like, no, he just he started like ninth and didn't really feel like he was ever gonna win unless something crazy happened.
Surged at the end, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to how rotten the Nice Motorsports guys' luck is this season.
Okay.
Because you have like Caden Honeycutt starts on pole at Daytona and then junks it from the lead, and they've been like really fast all year and they just can't finish a race. And then you had oh god, who was it? I gotta find it. It was the Bailey Curry wins one of the stages, is a front runner, suspension failure. And it was like every single time like either of those guys runs up front, this happens to them, and it's getting kind of ridiculous.
You can't have good things happening at Nice Motorsports.
No. Now Ross left and he took all of the good mojo with him.
Pretty much. Yeah, trucks were fun. Then IndyCar was at Long Beach. Tommy Bordeaux was on the ground.
Was he there? Cool.
I assume so. I thought so.
Oh.
Maybe, I don't know.
I guess we'll find out.
I wish we would have got some reporting from him, but that's okay. I don't think he listens to this show anyways. But Kyle Kirkwood broke Alex Plough's win streak to start the year. That was only 2 races, but shout out Kyle Kirkwood, Andretti.
Is that his first win? Oh no, he's got 3 wins.
No. Yeah, I was gonna say no.
He's won at Long Beach before. Okay.
I was gonna say he's got Herta on his pit box. Brian Herta. So remember how Colton was really good here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Colton was still good, but
yeah.
Maybe there's something about that strategist.
Yeah, his dad might know what he's doing. As it turns out.
As it turns out, the race car driver knows a thing or two.
Yeah, this race was funny though because like when you look at the end, the way the last 2 have ended, it's just like, oh, somebody else is gonna win, and then Alex Plough is just like, oh, don't mind if I do, and just like struts in and steals it at the very end, and it really looked like he was gonna do it again.
Yeah, it did. And that's of course when everyone's flipping the channel too, right? Right after the NASCAR race, everyone's like, because they kept saying, "Oh, watch IndyCar right after NASCAR on Fox." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I guess I will. Maybe this will be more exciting." And it was.
Yeah. Well, it's like what I said a few weeks ago. Like, how annoying does this have to be like, you know, like these guys like we mentioned, like Pato O'Ward or Joseph Newgarden or whatever, right? Where you're like, oh man, I'm like, this guy's coming into his own, he's awesome, and then Alex Blow's like, yeah, no, it's I'm still winning, so deal with it.
Joseph Newgarden, you know, really one of the guys in the sport that's really struggling.
All right,
Scott McLaughlin, look, or Pato.
Yeah.
Pato was a good one. Pato was a good one.
Yeah. Okay, actually, that does remind me. Do you remember Scott McLaughlin when he came to the U.S.? He said he wanted to run NASCAR
at Bristol,
and Roger Penske told him, like, if you win an IndyCar championship, you can run NASCAR.
Yeah. What if?
Part of me is like, I wonder if he just like, if that's the kind of thing where you like make a deal that you know they can't fulfill, and you're like, cool, I don't have to worry about that. Because I'm not saying Scott McLaughlin's bad, but like, he's finished third in points a couple of times. But
yeah. Well, like he should be a guy that runs Chicago, right? Or if the street race moves around, like that's something it feels like he should go run. But also like these IndyCar guys should go run ovals, just to see.
Cool. I really hope we get like Joseph Newgarden doing the double sometime soon. It needs to happen.
Yeah, we need an IndyCar guy to do the double, just to again prove how impressive Kyle Larson is.
Yeah,
because I think it would
push my agenda.
Well, I think it would.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Tony Kanaan and Larson, they were on Dale Jr. Download this past week, and Kanaan was like, yeah, I think that's why Larson was successful, because Cup cars you don't have like as much downforce, right? So you kind of know how to catch a car before it breaks loose, and the IndyCar guys that you have so much downforce, it's like, if it breaks free, you're done, right? Like so it's kind of like what people complained about the Cup car with this current generation car, that like it would just step out on you and you wouldn't, and it's like after they had time to adjust, you don't see that as often, right?
Yeah. No, because that reminds me of I want to say it was Juan Pablo Montoya was saying it, where he talked about like the difficulties of adapting to racing on ovals, because he's like, in F1, you know, you have your mid-speed corners that are long, but that's like one of them. per lap, right? He's like, most of the time you're full throttle, then you're hard on the brakes, you point and shoot, and you go. But NASCAR, it's like you dive into the corner, and then you keep doing that for like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And he's like, and you're sliding the whole time, which is not something that like any other motorsport, except maybe like drift racing does.
Yeah.
You know. So it's interesting.
So, but yeah, I want to see one of these IndyCar guys do the double, if not multiples.
God, imagine if Alex Palou runs the Chicago street course and just clowns on everybody in IndyCar too.
That would be amazing.
It'd be really funny, and I believe the term that would be used to describe everybody would be hose mad. So.
Yeah. I wonder if Alex Plou's ever going to go to F1. Remember that whole ordeal with him and Arrow McLaren?
Oh my God, I did forget about that.
Yeah. And then how Ganassi was like, "You're not leaving, buddy. You got a contract. Yeah. You got an ironclad contract."
No, please don't make me win 2 more IndyCar championships. Right? I'd hate it so much.
Right. Let me go be a reserve driver for McLaren F1.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell are we doing, man?
God, I mean, with how mad it made, like...
You remember how mad...
Oh, what?
How mad everyone was about that? That was crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's just like how mad Lando Norris makes everybody, and I was like, man, you put Alex Palou and Lando Norris on the same team, and that is like peak rage bait.
Yeah. No. European motorsports fans have no idea. Lord knows they don't actually watch anything but F1.
Nope.
Stupid idiots.
You will watch Drive to Survive.
You will. You will watch Netflix. All right, let's go ahead and go from the shop. Spencer Gallagher is going to make select starts in the Arkham and Art series this year on some of the bigger tracks. There are rumblings that GMS Racing, after Maury Gallagher sold his majority ownership in Legacy Motor Club, is considering bringing back GMS Racing into the Truck Series next year. There are also rumors about who their manufacturer will be next year in the Truck Series, to which Joe is very happy if this ends up being the true rumor. Care to speculate, Matthew?
Hell yeah, Sprinkler Galapagos. Glad to have you back. Yeah, I go back to when GMS ran their last truck race, and like Spencer ran all of their social media stuff, and he was like very candid about a lot of stuff that I always appreciated. And he just posted the picture of like the 2 haulers leaving, and he's like, "You never realize how much you love something until it's gone." And I've like genuinely, I've thought about that for a while, and so I'm like really glad to see him back. So I like Spencer. Seems like a good dude.
I still think it's crazy that Spencer Gallagher finally won an Xfinity race, and then got banned from the sport, and it was like weed, right? Like it was something that's like
I don't remember exactly what he failed a drug test.
He failed a drug test, and Spencer Gallagher's a party guy.
So for a while, his Wikipedia picture was him like in the post-race press conference after his win, and he looked shithoused in that picture. And they finally updated his Wikipedia page, but I was like, all you need to do is look at that picture and be like, oh yeah, bro partied a little too hard after that.
So that was like, I don't want to say it was a tragedy or anything like that, because it's definitely not what it was, but it was kind of sad because
it was a bummer, but yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but if you're Jeremy Mayfield, allegedly, it's a little bit different than something that's legal in, I think, more than half of the continental United States. So,
yeah.
Anywho, but the rules are the rules.
Yeah, good. Glad to see Spencer back. I hope GMS does come back. And, like you mentioned,
I think we need another good truck team.
Yeah. Well, and like what you mentioned too, like the rumors. I'm assuming you're talking about the return of Dodge.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a good startup team, and I'm sure they're going to go after an existing team as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So hopefully.
Cough, Nice, cough.
That's genuinely exactly what I was just thinking.
Legacy Motor Club, we didn't get to touch on this last week because, again, we weren't here, but Legacy Motor Club sued Rick Ware Racing over a charter breach of contract for the 2026 season. Supposedly, Legacy was paying upwards of $45 million for Rick Ware's charter. Originally, the negotiations were supposedly centering around 2027, being the year that the charter transitioned, but now Legacy snuck in language to make it 2026. Supposedly, again, allegedly, but Rick Ware Racing still signed the contract, allegedly. So, but I don't know how you allegedly sign a contract. Anywho.
So, wait, hang on. So, aren't they leasing one of their charters from Rick Ware? Is that the one they're trying to buy, or am I confused? Or no? Legacy, RFK has the second one.
Yes, Legacy owns both of their charters. Now, one of the Rick Ware charters at one point was also owned by Petty.
That was the old 44 one,
and that's the one that's the other one they have now.
Okay.
So they have the 43 and the 42 charters.
Yeah.
But yes, and then RFK is leasing for the 60.
Yeah, so I'm assuming they were trying to buy a third one to start a third team. Okay.
Because there's rumors about who their manufacturer will be in a year or two. But I digress.
I was going to say, if they're not switching, Corey Heim, come on down!
Right?
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, again, also points to Dodge wanting 3 cars in the Cup Series. And
at a minimum.
Yeah. So,
Come on down, call it racing.
Yeah.
Literally going to be like the... I mean, I wish RFK, like, please, if I could get Petty and RFK, that would be amazing for me. But I'll take one. I'll take Petty.
Yeah, I was going to say, RFK seems like an uphill battle.
Supposedly it's not, though. Because originally they were the team that was having the strongest negotiations with Dodge, like a couple of years ago before they got good again.
I wonder, because
that was back when you could tell, like in some of Brad's talks or like when they were interviewing him, because obviously he came from Penske, which was the top Ford program, right?
Yeah.
You could tell that he was frustrated that they weren't getting the same resources that he was getting.
Yeah. I think now that Stuart Haas isn't around anymore, that definitely clears up the water a little bit. But I wonder if, like, what that means with like Jack Roush's relationship with all of them, because they have very close ties to Ford, like even in the production car business.
Yep.
So, like, I feel like if that happens, you either see the R and RFK disappear, or you stop seeing Roush-tuned Fords on the road.
That's the thing, though. Like, you still see petty versions of Camaros and Challengers, but I guess Petty's stuff is a little bit different than Roush Performance.
Yeah.
So, I would be shocked, though, because at this point, you got to keep your business separate from your race team.
Yeah, true.
And there's plenty of owners that have done very well at that. Look at Rick Hendrick, who has so many freaking Toyota dealerships.
Yeah, that is true.
And also look at Roger Penske, who fields every type of race car under the sun, or every type of power plant under the sun.
Yeah, because don't they do Fords and NASCAR, Chevy and IndyCar,
yep.
Porsche and IMSA. Didn't they also used to do the Acura program for IMSA, or was it somebody else? Yeah.
Yep.
God, that's wild. Yeah. Oh, but the original thing I was going to say, like, even though Richard Petty's role is ceremonial at best with the team, still, like, Petty and Dodge, like, you can't have the Petty 43 and have Dodge in the field and they not be running them.
Well, I mean, we did do it for a couple of years there.
That's true.
It was miserable and I hated it.
Yeah. Shout out to Casey Kane quitting mid-race. That was a good time.
Shout out to 2010 Richard Petty Motorsports. What a time.
Have you ever heard that story, by the way?
No, but I'm not surprised.
So like we all know Casey Kane, his last year with Petty was in the 9 car was 2010, and then he went to Red Bull for a year, and then Hendrick after that.
What if I told you he left Petty with 5 races left in the season?
Yeah, so I never even knew that. Like when I was watching NASCAR, I didn't notice it at the time. I don't know how I didn't notice it. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't on the internet very much at the time either. So
okay.
They just must have not showed Kasey Kahne very much at the end of 2010.
I mean, he was in a Red Bull car, so.
Yeah. But so the 2010 Charlotte race, there's a screen grab that people post sometimes because it goes viral of J.G. Ailey driving Kasey Kahne's car, because Kasey had wrecked and had left the track, and JJ was just like, "Oh, I'll just drive it," because he was already out from starting and parking. We've seen that a few times. I looked into it deeper a while back. So the official reason that was listed was that Kasey was sick and he left the track. But he wrecked because he had a brake failure. And that was about the 4th brake failure he had in 2010. And he ran a marathon 2 days after that race. And was just like talking about stuff like that. And then the very next week he's in the Red Bull 83. So I feel like Kasey had his like 4th or 5th brake failure and just said, fuck this, and just left the track and quit. Like mid-race. So.
Honestly, kind of rock star.
Yeah.
The Kasey Kahne Budweiser days were weird. They were a fever dream.
That era is so weird because like occasionally they would just dominate and win a couple races and then just go back to being an absolute clown show.
Remember when Kasey Kahne won at Sonoma?
Yeah. He won like 3 races that year.
I know. I was a Kasey Kahne fan.
That streak in 2008 where he won 3 out of 4 races in the middle of the summer and then just went back to being mediocre again.
Yeah, you know. It is what it is, man.
So weird.
Shout out Kasey Kahne.
What a weird career.
Who will be racing this weekend at the Rock. NASCAR returns to Rockingham. There's Ben Kennedy's like, oh yeah, we'd love to have a cup race there if we could do it, but you guys show up to the races this weekend, so we'll see if people show up. I don't know.
Hopefully
they show up. You know,
I just can't wait to see race cars on the Rock again.
Right? But the weird thing is, it's not like Wilkesboro where like, I mean, it was at like the start of your life and before I was born, you know, like
yeah. So I vividly remember still watching the 04 Rockingham race there.
Yeah.
Like I remember the Kasey Kahne.
Well, it's not even,
speaking of him again, Matt Kenseth photo finish.
They raced at Rockingham in the trucks like 10 years ago. Like,
well, and that's what I was gonna say. I missed both of those races. Okay. So like, modern Matthew that actually has consciousness has never seen race cars on Rockingham. So. Also, shout out to that time Arco went there in 2008, and they had like 50 cars in the field. Dudes rock. So, I'm excited.
I think the Cars Tour raced there last year, maybe. Someone raced there last year. It was fun. It's going to be really fast, because they repaved it, so...
Oh, I forgot about that, yeah.
It's going to be really fast.
Do we know if the walls are still like ramps?
I hope not.
Because if you don't know, there's a weird quirk with the construction of Rockingham where like they built the walls perpendicular to the ground instead of the track on the backstretch. So that's why like when Carl Long and Robbie Gordon went up dog in the last race there is because, you know, it's not a 90-degree angle. So if you hit the wall right, you just go airborne. So that'll be interesting. Could be really funny.
Hey, the trucks are there Friday night.
I mean, I was going to say, my prediction would be based... actually, no, I'm going to save this for my my bottom slip moment. But knowing Tommy Joe Martin's luck, it's going to be one of his cars that does that. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
Anyway, hi, Ziggy.
I was going to say, Ziggy was just working his way over. He did a big stretch. Because he knows it's time for our bottom slip moments of the week.
What's your bottom slip moment, Ziggy? Was it you not having any food last night and you yelling at me?
Aw. Neglect. That's my bottom split moment. You neglecting Ziggy.
Look at it, he's skin and bones. He's never eaten in his life. As there's a loud thud of him jumping onto the floor.
For our audio listeners out there, Ziggy is probably like a 50, or not 50. He's probably like 9
He's 20 pounds.
He's 20 pounds.
I've weighed him, yeah. He's 20 pounds. Ziggy, I mean, he's just generally a big cat.
Ziggy likes lasagna.
But he's also kind of chubby. Yeah.
Ziggy likes lasagna. Ziggy,
like he's chubby. He's not like
Ziggy could
morbidly
play
overbased.
Ziggy could play Garfield.
He's just a large boy.
It's okay. I'm a large boy.
Grande hombre.
Un hombre grande.
Yeah. Gato anaranjado.
That's right.
Hey, buddy. Anyway, yeah, what's your bottom split moment?
Shoot. My bottom split moment of the week goes out to the person that drove into a house down the street from my dad's house.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's not ideal.
Everyone was okay, but that's my bottom split moment of the week.
Oh my gosh.
Because I couldn't think of one quick enough, so that's it.
My bottom split moment is Brendan Poole's wreck at Bristol, because like, is that not just so Tommy Joe Martins that like he gets one of his cars into the dash for cash and it's like, oh, it's this awesome moment. Yeah, it's this awesome moment, and then Brendan Poole's car explodes basically.
Yeah.
Like he literally broke the rear axle housing in half. How do you do that at Bristol?
And Sheldon Creed was the one that got taken out by it. So
God, yeah, that was brutal.
Just a collection of sadness.
Yeah.
What was your road
to
promo?
On a lighter note. Mine is, I wrote it down. Actually, I have it off the dome. I'm gonna give a shout out to Rory McIlroy completing his career Grand Slam. It's also especially cool because he never accepted the Saudi blood money to join Live Tour, so big shout out there. I was golfing while that happened, so I'm just gonna say that I was channeling my energy into him. So I'm gonna take partial credit for it.
You don't strike me as a golfer.
I go like once or twice a year.
Okay.
I like golf. I'm not like, I don't have my own clubs or anything, but it's fun.
Okay.
So one of my friends was in town and he was like, "Do you want to go play like 9 holes?" And I was like, "All right." So.
Okay.
Cool. Cat, can you stop making noise?
Okay.
What about you?
My road to pro moment of the week goes out to Bristol for giving me the most insane side eye today after getting his bath. But now he's all soft and fluffy. So
you're soft and fluffy too, Ziggy.
Aw. And clean, because Ziggy was cleaning
me.
Aww.
Yeah, he's going ham. He kept clawing me earlier though. He like tries to make biscuits, but he won't use his scratching pad, so his claws are super sharp. So. But yeah, look how big this freaking cat is.
That is a big cat.
He's a large boy.
It is a one giant cat. Yeah. Anyways.
It's basically the end of every episode. I'm just like, look at this thing!
What is it? What is it? We appreciate
it lives in my home.
We appreciate y'all so much for watching this week. Make sure if you haven't already, drop a like, subscribe, follow, do all those things. That's a great way to support. Matt, you got anything that you want people to support you? Or any causes you want them to support? It's okay if you don't.
Yeah, I don't have anything at the moment. Maybe I'll come up with something next week.
Just want to say gaslighting is not cool. And take care of your kids. All right. Yeah. Folks, appreciate you so much. That was directed at Matt, by the way.
Yeah, gaslighting's not real. What are you talking about? You're crazy.
Folks, we appreciate you so much for watching the Fake Racers podcast. Again, leave us a like, comment, listen, tell us what you thought about this last weekend. We missed you last week. We're glad to be back this week. And we'll see you guys next week on Fake Racers podcast.
Goodbye.